going on, everyone? We've been getting all the reports about the Utah Jazz and, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers want some of those pieces. There are all these talks that have came out about the Utah Jazz having all of these options, and all of these teams really are just dying to give the Utah Jazz a first-round pick for these guys. Even you had Ramona Shelburne talk about how she feels that Mike Conley is going to get a first, and Bojan Bogdanovic is going to get a first, and Jordan Clarkson is going to get a first, and just all these teams are just, here's a first for you, here's a first for you, here's a first for you, for all of the Jazz players, and that Danny Ainge is just going to once again just fleece all of these teams, and completely ignoring the fact that the Utah Jazz have all these guys outside of Bojan Bogdanovic on multi-year deals, and not many teams are in a situation to take on something like that, as well as give up a first-round pick. Not even to mention that the Utah Jazz have to unload guys. They have to get rid of guys. They can't go into the upcoming season with the amount of players that they have on their roster. Negating and ignoring all of these things. Apparently the Utah Jazz had all of these options and all these teams lining up to put deals out, and that the Lakers are just being silly and they're being patient for no reason, and the Jazz are just going to move on. The Lakers, yes, even though the Lakers solve all of Utah's problems in one swoop, even though that the Lakers seem to be the only team that a deal could actually fully be worked out, even though all of the signs point to it's the Lakers or bust for the Utah Jazz if they really want to unload guys and not just have to buy guys out for no reason and figure it out. It didn't matter. The reports were still coming in until today, my friends. Today we get a new report, and let me just say, all roads lead back to the Lakers, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So, from a Jazz source, according to The Athletic, Tony Jones, the Jazz are looking to consolidate their roster ahead of the start of the 2022-2023 season, and the Lakers are one of the teams they are in talks with. He continues, league sources indicate a market for Bojan Bogdanovic, at the very least, of which there is significant interest for the 6'8" shooting forward, Jones wrote, but the Jazz at this point don't appear to be particularly close to a trade that could land them even more assets and consolidate the roster, although there are ongoing talks with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, look, I've said I have no doubt in my mind that teams want Bojan Bogdanovic. Absolutely. But how many teams out there are in a position to actually trade for him and give up a first-round pick? Teams aren't doing the Jazz and Danny Ainge favors just to do Jazz and Danny Ainge favors. It's not going to happen. You know who can get it done? The Lakers. And you know who has the leverage, which I've been saying since this started, is the Lakers. All roads lead back to the Lakers, because who else has expiring deals, could take on multiple players, give up assets in an exchange, whether it be second-round picks or something else, and basically just swipe the board and solve all of the Jazz's problems. There's not another team in the league that can do that, because the Jazz can't just do one-for-one swaps. Would a team like Miami give up Duncan Robinson for, Mike Conley or Jordan Clarkson and, let's say, Bojan Bogdanovic? Absolutely. Miami would probably even gladly give you a first, but that makes zero sense for the Utah Jazz. They are a rebuilding team. Why would you want to take on a 4-year contract? That's what they're looking at. I've been saying this for the last week and a half, some change, and, look, I don't want to pat myself on the back too much because I'm a humble person, but show me a team, show me the interest. Even when Ramona Shelburne was saying all that stuff, I made a video and I said, I don't care how she feels. I care, is there a deal or is there not? Everyone keeps saying that they feel the Utah Jazz have all these deals and all these teams interested. Well, guess what? We finally got an official report, not a feeling, a report, that the Jazz are nowhere close to deals with anybody, that nobody wants these players. I said immediately, as soon as I heard the asking price, name me a team that's given up a first-round pick for Mike Conley. Name me a team that's given up a first-round pick for Jordan Clarkson. Maybe Bojan Bogdanovic, but you're going to have to take back something, and the Jazz can't do that. Jazz can't do one-for-one player swaps. They couldn't trade. Let's say the Heat were like, we'll give you Duncan Robinson and 2 first-round picks. The Jazz still couldn't do that because they can't take back one-for-one swaps. They still have to move that guy. No matter how you slice it, it is the Lakers or bust for the Utah Jazz. Outside of that, they're either just giving these guys away for pennies on the dollar, taking on bad contracts, either have to give up assets or they're going to have to buy out the guys at the end of the bench. And guess what? They're in a terrible position now because you are a rebuilding team with a bunch of veterans, and you have to make a decision. Are you rebuilding this year, or are you competing this year? Because if you're rebuilding this year, why would you play your veterans? Why would you play the guys that are going to win you some games? Why would you do that? And then what? Are you just not going to play them for 3 months and then try to trade them at the trade deadline? Oh, I would love to see that. How many teams are going to be trying to line up to give up assets for these guys at the trade deadline when they haven't played in 3 months? Like, nobody. Like, if they don't move them now, they're not moving them at the trade deadline unless they actually allow these guys to play. And then at that point, you're not taking anymore because the Utah Jazz are actually still a pretty good team on paper. If they just cut guys at the end of the bench, they have more than enough talent to win some games for this Jazz team. They have Lauri Markkanen. You still have Walker Kessler. You have Conley. You have Clarkson. You have Bogdanovich. You have Malik Beasley. You have Jared Vanderbilt. You have all of these guys that are really good. Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen. Like, you have a legit roster. This team is actually legit deep and could win some games. If that's the route you want to go, then what was the point of rebuilding? Why didn't you just keep Donovan Mitchell and keep all these guys and you'd probably still be a pretty good team? But no, they wanted to go the other route. And so they embraced the tank. You got to embrace the tank. The difference is, because everyone just seems to think Danny Ainge is notoriously fleece people and he's going to fleece somebody else and this, that, and the other. There's a difference between the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert and all the other deals he's done. He never had to move those guys. He always had that one thing to fall back on of, I don't have to do anything, which is the Lakers' leverage right now. The reason that Danny Ainge has always had the leverage is because he never had to move these guys. That is the Lakers situation. The Lakers don't have to move off of Russell Westbrook. The Utah Jazz have to move off of guys one way or another, whether it's a trade through the Lakers or not. But good luck. That's what I've been saying. Good luck finding a deal. There's all these talks about a deal. And what have I said? If you've been following this channel for even the last just couple days, you've heard me say time and time again, if there was a deal on the table that the Utah Jazz really thought was a good deal, they would have been traded these guys. These guys would have been off the roster a long time ago. There's no way Utah is not unloading these guys and just going to sit and wait patiently for the Lakers to maybe or maybe not put a deal together, because you don't know if those deals are gone and now you're in a terrible position. If Danny Ainge has a first-round pick for Bogdanovich and he doesn't have to take back another contract, that Bogdanovich would have been gone this time last month. That dude would have been long gone. Danny Ainge would have flew him himself personally to whatever team did that. Same thing with Mike Conley. Same thing with Jordan Clarkson. Vanderbilt and Beasley, I don't think they'd have any problems unloading those guys. But these veteran guys, how many teams want them? Conley is on a terrible contract. He's a solid player. I am not against the Lakers acquiring Conley, but not many teams need a guy like Conley. Okay, and he's a better backup than he is a starting point guard, but he's on a really bad deal. So, who's taking that? Jordan Clarkson, he's on a more reasonable deal, $13 million a year, right? But he is an extremely inefficient sixth man. He shoots 42% from the field, which is way below league average, and he shoots 31 to 32% from three, which again is way below league average. He is a shot chunker and not efficient in any way. No team is lining up to take him. They're just not without giving up something. Like the Jazz want all these teams to give them, because Danny Ainge is riding this insane high because the Minnesota Timberwolves were dumb enough to give him a king's ransom for Rudy Gobert, and then he believes in his head that he fleeced the Cavs, which definitely did not happen. He should have waited for the Knicks, but he got all stubborn, all upset, all caught up in his feelings. Oh, the Knicks ended up keeping R.J. Barrett and ended up trading for a lesser trade. Even if you just got the Knicks picks, that was probably better. Colin Sexton has the second worst plus minus in NBA history. He has the second worst minus in history. That means he is statistically the second worst positive player in league history. That means he does not translate to wins. He actually translates to losses. He's a net negative for teams. That's why the Cavaliers didn't want to max him out. And he's coming off of an injury. So what is he going to be? So you got that. The real prize is Lauri Markkanen. Okay, cool. But you got Vanderbilt and Kessler. But okay, cool. Markin gives you another element that those two don't. And they got 3 first-round picks that are going to be terrible because the Cavs are going to be a really good team for the next 10 years. And you could have gotten the Knicks, where the Knicks, if Donovan Mitchell goes to the Knicks, they're probably still not even a play-in team. Maybe a play-in team at best. They have no defense. You have 2 6'1" guards. And the Knicks have historically been terrible at managing and being successful and stuff like that. So you would be banking on that. And then let me add the 2 pick swaps that they're never going to use, because again, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to be really good. You're never going to be better than the Cavs, at least in the next several years, unless some superstars decide to go to Utah. But how often does that happen? Danny is riding this high that he believes he is just fleecing everybody and he's just snatching bodies. But he's in a position he has never been in. He has to move guys. He always has the leverage because he's never had to move those guys. He's never had to make those trades. Even the KG and Paul Pierce and stuff, he didn't have to trade them. So he got to set the demand. And you had a team that was dumb enough to take it. Well, guess what? Teams aren't dumb enough to take these guys because they're not worth it. And they all know the same thing I know, which is the Jazz have to do something. They have to move off these guys at some point. So why would we wait? What are they going to do? Are they going to buy these veterans out? Good, then we sign them for free. No matter how you shake it. The Jazz, and it doesn't help the Jazz's financial problem because the Jazz are hard capped and you're still paying luxury tax for nothing. For what? It makes no sense. I'm telling you, all roads lead to Lakers. I've been saying that. I've been saying that for the last week. And I'm not saying a deal is definitely going to get done. But it's not going to be because of the Utah Jazz. It's going to be because of the Lakers. It's going to be because Danny Ainge is too stubborn and he is going to wait till the last minute, and at that point the Lakers are going to be done, and that's it. Get what you can. The Lakers are your best option, best alternative. And this isn't even as a Laker fan. It's just the reality. That's why all of the real credible reports, not the I feel type reports. I'm talking about here's the facts, here's the information, here's the evidence. The Utah Jazz don't have anybody that wants to trade for these guys. They don't have any deals lined up. That's all we've heard from legit sources. And they're Utah sources. They're not Lakers sources. These are all Utah Jazz people. So it's not the Lakers making stuff up for leverage plays. No, this is Utah Jazz insiders saying the Utah Jazz do not have a deal for these guys. That's beautiful. That's music to the Lakers' ears. That is music to Rob Pelinka's ears. Because now he knows that they don't have any other options but us. So guess who gets to set the price? Again, I'm not saying it's 100% that a deal's going to get done, but what are the other options? Again, what are the other options? Been preaching this. I've been saying this. If you're not subscribed to this channel, I'm telling you, you need to subscribe to this channel. I've been calling it. I've been saying it for the last week. Everybody, it's been that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that a deal is absolutely going to happen. But it is the Lakers or bust for the Utah Jazz. Otherwise, they're going to be shipping these guys off for peanuts. I'm telling you, watch. But anyway, this is a discussion, so I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know how you feel about it down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? However you feel about it. I love to hear your thoughts and opinions. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.